Hi everybody, this is Wayne Trammell from the Remote Leadership Institute, and I want to share with you today a story that came out of one of our training classes that I think is really instructive, both for remote workers and especially for managers. Napoleon once said that if we want to avoid war, we have to avoid the 1,000 little pinpricks that lead to war, which is a very grandiose way of saying little things can get blown out of proportion and become big problems, or at very least become the visible symptoms of bigger problems on remote teams. So here's what happened. I was leading a class one time and we were talking about working from home, and somebody who worked mostly in the office and works from home occasionally said to me, well, I hate working from home because I've got a laptop and I've got one of those little rubber thingies that I have to use instead of a mouse, and it makes me crazy and I hate it. And stupid me said, why don't you get a mouse? And he said, well, the company won't pay for equipment when you work at home. And I said, it's $9. You can go to the drugstore and buy a cheap little mouse anywhere. What's the problem? And as it turns out, not surprisingly, it wasn't that, oh, my boss won't reimburse me for a $9 mouse, although that was part of the problem. That was the symbol of the way this person felt he was being treated as part of the team. Once you're no longer in the office, you are entirely on your own, you're left to your own devices. And part of me went, it's $9, go buy a mouse, what's the problem? But the real challenge is that the rules, and the manager was following the rules. I cannot reimburse you for money you spend on home equipment. The problem wasn't that they needed to spend $9. The problem was they needed a mouse. And if you've ever worked in an office setting, you know that those things are lying around everywhere. Mice, keyboards, whatever. Somebody's got an extra one sitting around somewhere. You could have just asked for it and gotten it. But when you work from home, the question asked was, can I get reimbursed $9? The answer is no. If the problem was, I need a mouse, can somebody help me out, we probably would have been able to solve the problem. That's indicative of what Napoleon was talking about. The 1,000 little pinpricks that lead to war. The fact that this person was disengaged and angry and resentful over something as silly as this little piece of plastic didn't start there. It started with not feeling as supported as he felt when he was in the office. It continued with dialing into phone calls where the people in the office were dominating the conversation, and the people who were dialing in could barely get a word in edgewise. It continued with taking all day to get hold of their manager to ask a question when the people in the office can just kind of poke their head in and ask it. It's not that those aren't legitimate issues, and we do have to figure out how to deal with those things, but allowing resentment to build and build and build, and not checking in and not really understanding the question behind the question is something that remote leaders need to learn to do. We need to ask better questions. We need to really understand when people bring us a challenge, are we reacting to what they ask us, or are we really seeking the question behind the question? Conversely, if you work remotely and you want to be a great remote teammate, you need to be proactive about not only asking for what you need, but explaining why you need it. So that's really it. That's all I wanted to talk to you about today is, as a leader of a remote team, are you aware of the little things? Very often they don't come to us until they're big issues, and then you wonder why Bob is freaking out over a $9 mouse. He's not. The $9 mouse is the visible rock above the water if you will. And so I'm going to urge, if you're on a remote team, be proactive and forthcoming about what you need and why you need it. Why does this matter? If you are a leader of a remote team, listen for the reason behind the question rather than simply responding or falling back on policy. That's it. Have a great day. By all means, stop by remoteleadershipinstitute.com. We'd love to see you. You can learn about our training solutions as well as our new product for teleworkers, 12 Weeks to Being a Great Remote Teammate. See you soon.